On the morning of March 18, 1990, Boston awoke to news that would shock the art world forever. In the dead of night, two men disguised as police officers had walked into the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum and walked out with 13 priceless works of art worth an estimated $500 million. Paintings by Vermeer, Rembrandt, and Degas in less than 2 hours. To this day, not a single piece has been recovered, and the heist remains the largest unsolved art theft in history. But this wasn't just a theft. It was an almost cinematic crime, meticulous in planning, brazen in execution, and baffling in its aftermath. The Gardner heist has haunted investigators, baffled historians, and become a symbol of how the world's most valuable treasures can vanish without a trace. This is the story of how it happened, who might have done it, and why, even 30 years later. The empty frames still hang in the museum, silent reminders of the night when art itself was stolen. The story begins in the early hours of St. Patrick's Day weekend, when Boston was alive with celebration. Across the city, bars were packed, music played, and the streets were loud with drunken laughter. It was the perfect night for a crime, the kind of night when people don't pay attention, when the police are busy handling brawls and traffic accidents. At 1:24 a.m., a small hatchback pulled up to the side entrance of the Gardner Museum. Inside were two men dressed as Boston police officers, dark uniforms, badges, caps, everything looking official. They rang the buzzer and told the night guards they were responding to a disturbance. It was an old trick, but effective. The museum's security that night was shockingly light. Only two guards were on duty: Rick Abbott, a 23-year-old art student with long hair and a reputation for being laid back, and Randy Heston, a part-timer on his first week of work. Neither man was armed. Neither had real training for dealing with criminals. Their job was simply to keep an eye on the cameras and make rounds through the galleries. When the police officers demanded entry, Rick buzzed them in without hesitation. That was his fatal mistake. Within seconds of stepping inside, the imposters revealed their true intentions. One of them turned to Rick and said, "Gentlemen, this is a robbery." Guns drawn, they ordered both guards against the wall. The thieves weren't nervous. They weren't frantic. They moved with calm precision, as if they had rehearsed this moment 100 times. The guards were handcuffed, duct-taped, and forced down into the basement. Rick was tied to a pipe, his eyes and mouth covered. Randy was shackled to a workbench. Neither man would see what happened upstairs. For the next 81 minutes, the two thieves had the entire museum to themselves. The Gardner Museum wasn't just any museum. Built in 1903 by the wealthy art collector Isabella Stewart Gardner, it was modeled after a Venetian palace. Every gallery was filled with treasures: Dutch Golden Age paintings, French Impressionist masterpieces, medieval artifacts, rare manuscripts and sculptures. The building itself was a work of art, but the thieves weren't there to admire beauty. They had a plan, or at least a list. They moved directly to the Dutch Room, where some of the world's most famous paintings hung. In a move that stunned art historians, they targeted Rembrandts' The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, the painter's only known seascape. They sliced it out of its frame with a knife, leaving jagged edges of canvas behind. They did the same with A Lady and Gentleman in Black, another Rembrandt masterpiece. Nearby hung a tiny but priceless painting, Johannes Vermeer's The Concert. Only 34 Vermeer paintings are known to exist in the world, and this one was among the most valuable, gone just like that. They also took a Gavard Flink, several sketches by Degas, an ancient Chinese bronze, and a finial from a Napoleonic flagstaff. Oddly, they left behind works that were even more valuable: paintings by Michelangelo, Raphael, and Botticelli. Their choices puzzled experts. It seemed less like they were selecting based on value and more like they were following specific instructions. By the time they were done, they had taken 13 pieces in total. They returned to the basement, checked on the guards, and then vanished into the night. The entire heist took less than 2 hours. The next morning, the day shift guards arrived to find the museum eerily silent. They discovered their co-workers bound in the basement and realized the unimaginable. The Gardner Museum had been looted. The FBI was called immediately, and what followed was one of the most extensive investigations in American history. But the thieves had left almost nothing behind. No fingerprints, no usable DNA, no security footage. The only cameras had been aimed at the doors, and the tape showed little beyond the fake police uniforms. For years, investigators chased leads across the globe. Was it the Italian mafia, the Irish mob, an international art syndicate? Everyone seemed to have a theory. One strong lead pointed to the Petrocca crime family, the Italian mob in New England. Informants claimed that mobsters had bragged about possessing the stolen art, using it as bargaining chips in negotiations, but no paintings were ever produced. Others believed the Irish mob in Boston had orchestrated the heist, possibly under gangster James Whitey Bulger. The theory went that the paintings were shipped overseas, traded for weapons, or hidden away in secret vaults. Then there was the strangest twist of all. Suspicion fell on Rick Abbott, the security guard who let the thieves inside. He was known to smoke marijuana on the job, to invite friends into the museum during his shifts, and to be careless. Some theorized he might have been in on it, though the FBI never charged him with involvement. Abath himself denied it until his death in 2021. What makes the Gardner heist especially haunting is what came after, or rather, what didn't come. Unlike most art thefts, where stolen works eventually resurface on the black market, none of the Gardner paintings have ever been recovered. Not one. For more than 30 years, the FBI has chased tips from all over the world. Paintings have been rumored to be in Ireland, in France, in Japan, in mafia safe houses, and even buried in the dirt of suburban Boston. Every lead ends in disappointment. Meanwhile, inside the Gardner Museum, the empty frames still hang on the walls exactly as they were left in 1990. Museum officials refused to take them down, honoring Isabella Stewart Gardner's will, which stated that the collection should remain forever as she arranged it. The empty frames have become a chilling reminder of the theft, a silent promise that someday the paintings will return. The heists left behind more questions than answers. Why did the thieves choose those particular pieces? Why did they ignore masterpieces worth even more? Where could the stolen works possibly be? And perhaps the biggest mystery of all, how could the world's most valuable stolen art collection vanish without a trace? Some believe the paintings are locked away in a private collection, hidden in a billionaire's vault, never to be seen by the public again. Others think they were destroyed, burned in panic when the investigation grew too intense. Both possibilities are tragic. These works are irreplaceable, not just in monetary value, but in cultural heritage. They are pieces of human history, and their absence is a wound that'll never fully heal. The Isabella Stewart Gardner heist is more than just a crime story, it's a riddle that may never be solved. Over 30 years have passed, and yet the FBI still keeps the case open, still offers a $10 million reward for information leading to the return of the art. Every so often, new rumors emerge, sparking hope that the paintings might finally resurface. But so far, the trail always goes cold. In the end, the Gardner heist stands as the ultimate example of the allure of unsolved mysteries. It reminds us how fragile even the most carefully guarded treasures can be, how ambition and audacity can rewrite history in a single night. On that March morning in 1992, men walked into a museum and carried away $500 million worth of the world's beauty. And 30 years later, we're still asking the same questions. Who were they? Where did the art go? And will we ever see it again? Until those questions are answered, the Gardner heist will remain what it has always been: the greatest unsolved art theft in history.